I'm actually 65 now, so I have actually reached pensionable age just this year. I have lost almost 5 years' worth of pension. I was expecting to retire at 60. I've had my pension age increased twice, first of all to 63 and then to just short of my 65th birthday. Now, the way this loss has affected me personally is I'm a nurse and I actually had 2 part knee replacements. If I'd had my pension at 60, I could have gone part-time. So that would have reduced the stress on my body, you know, with arthritis, etc. And also, the other thing that's happened to me is that I made decisions, life-changing decisions, which were to sell my house, to move out of London, which maybe I wouldn't have done had I had this extra income coming in. So it has made like a massive, massive difference.
Gosh, it's so interesting that you would have continued working as well, which is
yes,
really interesting.
exactly. I mean, I am still working now, but I'm actually working full-time, which is not good for my health. I mean, there are other women I know in worse position than me, but I actually can't afford to retire just yet because of the outgoings.
Yeah, Dr. Davina, let's talk about some of those other women who are in a worse situation too, Sheila. I mean, you're saying that many of the women you've been representing are living in poverty because of this.
Yes, exactly. And I am actually the NGO at the UN for Backto60. And it's Backto60 who've brought about this meeting at the court hearing at the courts today, which we're overjoyed and ecstatic that we have got permission to go further with and have a judicial review about how the government has behaved.
Yeah, what does that mean exactly then? What can or can't you do with this move?
Well, with this move, we are now going to the High Court and have a High Court judge look at exactly what has happened and see where mistakes have been made by the government and what they should do to put it right. And today was just the first part in what's going forward. And so we're ecstatic that we've got this far because there are hundreds of thousands of women, possibly over 500,000 or more, who are in abject poverty. And with the UN connection, I worked with Professor Philip Alston, who was the special rapporteur, who I know was in the news a couple of weeks ago.
Right, a bit of a damning report.
A very damning report, summing it up by saying that the austerity measures have hit women the hardest. 85% of austerity measures have affected women in particular. And this particular group of women, the women born in the 1950s, had a special mention in his report about how badly treated they had been by the government.
Well, look, we got in touch, of course, with the Department of Work and Pensions, and this is what they told 5 News, that the government decided more than 20 years ago to make state pension age the same for men and women as a long overdue move towards gender equality. So, Sheila, this is something that, as women, we've been calling for gender equality for men and women. So this should be a good move, surely.
Well, gender equality, you've got to think about equity as well. And throughout 1950s women's lives, we have not been treated equally. We've not had equal pay. A lot of us have maybe worked part-time throughout our lives. And just in general, you know, there are certain disadvantages to women throughout our life which are now being carried forward into the pension age. So we're not starting on an equal playing field. So we don't have an objection to raising the pension age of women. But what we do object to is raising it in a way that disadvantages us further on the back of all the disadvantages we've had.
Patrick, let me bring you in now, because also part of that statement, the government's saying that people are living longer. This is costing a fortune. £70 billion, they say it could cost them to bring in these changes that these ladies are asking for.
That's right. So for people who've already retired, if you've reached age 65, women's life expectancy has gone up about 1.5 years a decade. So in the 90s, 1.5 years, in the noughties, 1.5 years, and we're seeing that trend continuing today. We're all living longer. It's a brilliant social triumph. The problem is, it costs a lot more money to keep people in retirement. So when the recent Pensions Commission looked at this, the research they undertook was that about 1/3 of someone's adult life should be spent in retirement. And that's to try and balance the costs out over time. The current costs of pensions, about £100 billion a year. The only thing the government spends more money on is the NHS. But in that context, the money to rectify the short notice changes that the Judicial Review opined on today would actually be quite modest.
OK, really quickly, what can women do to prepare? Very quickly.
The women that are affected, I think you need to put your hopes on the Judicial Review. The problem is you can't make up for a lifetime of undersaving at short notice. And that's where this is really the tip of the iceberg for us as a whole society. It's not about getting to retirement and realising you haven't saved enough. Your only option then is carry on working and take your pension later. What we all need to be doing as a society is understanding that we're going to live longer, embracing it, save more and expect to retire later. What you shouldn't do is wait till the last minute and then make some sudden changes, and that's the change that's been forced upon ladies born in their 50s.
Well, as I'll say it again, I'll just repeat what the Department of Work and Pensions said, that they've actually, this is something the government brought in 20 years ago.
I think that's what the judge decided today. Was the reason we could go ahead was exactly on that issue, that we did not get notice, and that's why we were given permission to go ahead with the judicial review.
OK, Dr Davina Lloyd and Sheila Jones. I do apologise for that end it there.
And
okay. Patrick Bloomfield, and thank you so much for coming and talking such a huge subject. Thank you all.
Thank you very much for having us. Thank you.